Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Ballabha Girivardhari Gopijana Ballabha Girivardhari Jasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Jasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Jamunathira Vanachari Jamunathira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Ballabha Girivardhari Girivardhari Gopijana Ballabha Girivardhari Jasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Jasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Jamunathira Vanachari Jamunathira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Gaur Premanandi. Hare Krishna. Is it safe to assume that everybody knows everybody? No? Not everybody knows everybody. Well, you all know two people.
You know everybody.
You know everybody, so everybody knows you too. Okay. And...
I can introduce.
Huh?
I can introduce so they can introduce.
Well, you want to do that? Huh?
I can, yeah. I'm the right person. I can, sure. So we have very special. Thank you so much. March, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to have you here at our place. Like really pleasure during this difficult time. Thank you for coming and sharing your deep spiritual wisdom. And Romapada March have been a spiritual like travel and a monk over 40 years, and he will introduce 50 years. So I can. And
50 years.
50 years. And we have all very special guests here. We have wonderful friends, Tom and Jennifer, our dear friends. And Tom has a clinic, chiropractic clinic. He did some treatment a long time ago to you as a chiropractor. And we've been chanting sometimes together.
They've been involved in Krishna consciousness for a long time.
No, they're just friends and who help.
Uh-huh. Are they, to help me know how to speak, they're acquainted with Krishna consciousness or not? They're acquainted with you and not so much with Krishna consciousness?
Yeah, they just like chanting and they're first time on this kind of program.
Okay, okay. Because the topic that you picked is for devotees. Should I change the topic?
No, that's okay. Yeah, it's like they understand this topic too. Okay. And maybe you can introduce yourself.
My name is Laurinas. I'm for the first time here, but I was involved with devotees like in London Yatra more.
London?
Yeah.
Huh.
I came to Chicago like 3-4 months ago, so yeah.
Uh-huh. Welcome.
Yeah, originally from Lithuania.
Okay. Yeah, let her speak.
I have social phobia, I'm sorry. My name is Madhureshwari, and I'm His Holiness Bibi Govinda Swami disciple. And I came here from Seattle, Washington State.
From where?
Seattle.
Seattle.
Yes.
Huh.
So,
From Tajikistan
originally I'm from Tajikistan. It's in Central Asia. It's far from here, on top of Afghanistan. So,
Welcome to Chicago. How long you been in Chicago?
just second day. I came yesterday.
How many?
She came yesterday.
Yesterday. Welcome. How did you meet these two?
friends.
Oh, from
For a
before.
long time, yes, from Kazakhstan.
Okay. Okay, fantastic. Welcome. 2 days old.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I'm Mendogas. I'm actually from Lithuania. I met Shri Guru and Braj Mahan approximately 7 years ago.
10 years ago.
7 years, something.
7 years ago.
7 years, yes. We know each other. And welcome you.
You live in Chicago area.
Yes, I'm just 3 minutes away from here.
Oh, okay. Have we met before? I've been here to their home many times.
Yes, we met each other
Okay,
before.
fine.
Hare Krishna. My name is Hare Krishna Maharaj. Hare Krishna devotees. My name is Igor. I'm a local guy from Chicago. I've been around for some time.
Sometime. Okay. So, introduce yourself so they know who you are. Go ahead, Pangsidari.
My name is Vamsidhari Das. She is my better half of Shatrupa. We live in Aurora, practicing Krishna consciousness about 10 years now.
And they're hosting me. They're putting up with me while I'm in the suburbs out here. Okay, so I don't know exactly what you had in mind when you suggested a topic, which is fine with me. Divine love liberates. Divine love liberates. So that's a nice topic. I hear some recorded kirtan playing. That was quick. Okay, that's good. So maybe just spending a little bit of time with the terminology. I love Srimad Bhagavatam, and from Srimad Bhagavatam, I have learned that there are 10 principal topics in the whole of Srimad Bhagavatam, and one of them is liberation. So I'd like to speak about the material conception of liberation, the impersonal conception of liberation, and the Vaishnava conception of liberation. Definition by negation is material. And many people think of liberation by defining what it isn't. So there's material existence, and liberation is cessation of material existence. And that's very common. The Buddhist definition of cessation of material existence is exactly that. It's liberation is, or enlightenment, or attaining Buddhahood, or the status of enlightenment, is negation. It's called nirvana. Now that's not discussed in the Bhagavatam, because that's a material definition. But nirvana means, literally, cessation of material existence. And what do you do when you cease material existence, if you're a Buddhist? Nothing. It's a condition of nothingness. Well, what is it? Well, it's nothingness. It's void. Cessation of material existence. And then there's an impersonal conception that goes one step beyond that, and it's you exist. Say it again. In Buddhism, you don't exist. That's the goal, is to cease existence. But you can't cease existence because you're spirit soul, So impersonal conception is aham brahmasmi. It includes negation of material existence, and it goes one step further. I exist as spirit. And what does spirit do? Nothing. But you exist. It's like maybe like a star that's twinkling in the sky. That's what you do. You twinkle. You exist. In the realm of reality, because according to the impersonal conception of liberation, all of this is illusion, and even saying it more harshly, it's false. Jagat mithya, it's false. This Jagat, this universe, is false. But there is something that's real. That's Brahman Satya. So I exist. It's just, I exist. And the Bhagavatam teaches a third kind of liberation, which goes beyond the first two, and it goes into another dimension. And in the language of the Srimad Bhagavatam, it's Svarupena Vyavastati. Sva means one's own, Rupa means form, Vyavastati means, Sthiti means being situated in your activities in your spiritual form. That's what the Bhagavatam speaks about, what liberation is. And it teaches what it looks like. It teaches how to get there. It teaches the difference between that and falling short of that. And and the stages that fall short of there. I'll give an example of stages that fall short of getting there. And that's within the bhakti process. I guess we're all participating in the bhakti process. There's a stage in the bhakti process where the things that are obstacles in the heart from being situated in the liberated consciousness, there's obstacles, and there's obstacles inside, not something outside, but obstacles within. And that's impurities of heart, and they're eliminated by the bhakti process. I mean, it's not like snap your fingers and they're gone. It's a gradual eradication of impurities. And there's a stage where they're substantially gone. There's a verse in the Bhagavatam. I hope you don't mind my referring to the Bhagavatam, because I love Srimad Bhagavatam, so it's like a frame of reference for everything. Nashta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. Naishtaki is the stage of nishtha, the stage where the unwanted things in the heart are nearly gone. They're still there. So you're not in your spiritual form recognizing these are my spiritual activities in my spiritual form while you're still in Chicago or wherever your travels may take you. We were still within the body. You can have a very strong sense of connection using your spiritual senses in the service of the master of the senses, Krishna. The obstacle in doing that is our own impurities, our baggage that we're taking with us from lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. So liberation, back to the divine love liberates topic, theme. Liberation is, I'm out of here. Kind of, go where? Well, it doesn't matter, go where, just get out of here. That's the negation idea. And then go to the realm of spirit, okay, aham brahmasmi. Now what do I do there? What do you do? It's a nice question. If you really, it's marketing. If you want to get people to go to someplace, Hawaii, maybe because it's, summertime, maybe you want to go to Alaska. It's too hot in Siberia, I heard. You don't want to go there. It's 100-degree temperature, right? Record-breaking temperature in Siberia for the past, several weeks or a month. 100-degree temperature in Siberia. No? You don't know. That's what's going on. That's what I understand what's going on. 100-degree temperature in Siberia. Huh? Yeah. Yeah. Well, they're partying, but it's not good for the ecosystem there, because the ecosystem will die off anyway, without going into all that. If you want to go somewhere, it's like, why do I want to go there? What's the travel advertisement to inspire you to want to go there? So what do you do when you're liberated? If you had the more we're clear about what the stage of liberation looks like, feels like, it's more attractive to want to go there, besides just, I don't like this. Well, what's over there? Just a little sharing with you quickly. About a month and a half ago, I was asked by Shetarupa to cover a topic that we discussed many years ago in St. Louis, description of the kingdom of God. Because I shared with the group, and then so I did it again. Once upon a time, I was a little boy, and I was hearing about heaven and the kingdom of God. So I made a mistake. I asked, what's it like there? And not only I didn't get an answer because people didn't know, but I was humiliated for asking the question. So I stopped asking the question. My mother and father would, literally pat me on the head, say, oh, isn't that cute? Go ahead, say it. Here comes some guests in the house. Go ahead, say it. So what's it like there? So at least on the outside, I stopped asking. But there's very, very, very clear description in Bhagavatam, not only what's the distinction between the kingdom of heaven and the kingdom of God, but what's it like in both places, like details. So we spent, a week discussing Vaikuntha, and then the upper regions in this liberated realm of Ayodhya, the place of Lord Ramachandra. Then above that is Dwarka, and above that is Mathura, and above that is Vrindavan. It's the highest experience of your divine love in the liberated state. So liberation includes letting go of the material conceptions and the expectations for happiness in this field of sense activity. Just a little sharing, I'll say it twice. Something that I heard Srila Prabhupada say on more than one occasion, which struck me, and so it stayed with me. One of the primary responsibilities of a spiritual master is to thoroughly instruct a disciple about the complete futility in trying to find happiness in fruitive activities. So if you have read Prabhupada's books, you know that he does that a lot. I'll say it again. One of the primary duties of a spiritual master is to thoroughly instruct a disciple about the abject or total absolute futility of trying to find happiness in fruitive activities. That's the negation part of liberation. So if you let go of that, then where do you go? Well, if you're Buddhist, you go to nothingness. And if you're an impersonalist, you go to being a twinkling star in the sky, a spirit spark of Brahman. And if you're a devotee, you go to the kingdom of God. You engage your senses in the master of the senses service, with love. An example that Prabhupada would give, just to illustrate this, just a very simple example. You can build a rocket ship that can go up into space. First you have to overcome the gravitational field of the Earth, and then you go into space. And then you can float around in space for some time. But when you run out of fuel and you run out of water and you run out of stuff, you got to come back. Unless there's a place where you can take shelter, and then you can stay in that other place where you take shelter, then you don't have to come back. Otherwise, you have to come back. It's pretty common sense. Pretty common sense. So liberation doesn't just mean letting go. It's what do you take shelter of? There's a really nice example given in several places in Srimad Bhagavatam about the soul's transmigration, or moving from one body to the next. And it uses the example of an inchworm. You know what an inchworm is? In the green shirt. You know what an inchworm is? Can you describe to us what an inchworm is? No? Okay, I'll do. Little skinny guy, and there's a set of legs in the front and a set of legs in the back, and they move by arching their back, and then the front legs contact something, and then when the front leg contacts something, whoop, the back legs, the back arches, and then the rear legs connect with where the front legs are, and then they move along that way. So if the inchworm is on a leaf over here or a twig over here and wants to go over there, it doesn't fly and it can't jump. It's not how an inchworm moves. The front end of the body of the inchworm reaches out and contacts the next destination, and then whoop, back arches and the rear legs come and join the front legs. Yeah. So that's how an inchworm moves, and that's the example used in the Bhagavatam to show transmigration of the soul. The soul is in this body, but we can't move on to the next body until the next body is determined by higher authority, by Daiva Netrena is the language of the Bhagavatam, by higher authority, Daiva, divine authority decides, okay, that's the next destination, and then you can go. The front legs connect before the back legs connect. And then you're in the next body. But if your destination, if the destination is liberation, that means no more birth, where's the front legs going to go? You have to know what the next destination is. Supposing you don't know, then you're not liberated. Supposing you think aham brahmasmi, then you can go twinkle in the sky, but that's pretty boring. Having a desire for the nature of the soul is ananda, not just sat. It's not just eternally existing. It's ananda, and that's not ananda, that's not bliss. So one falls back down again, according to the Bhagavatam. Ruya krishena parampadam tada. If you go to that Brahmajyoti place, you can't stay there permanently because the natural state of the soul isn't achieved. You go up, 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 but after some time you have to come back down, unless you take shelter. So that's where the divine love part comes in. Divine love liberates permanently. You don't have to come back again. not only just go up and get out of the Earth's atmosphere and the contamination of what's going on. It's a pretty, wild situation in the world. So beyond negation is connecting with who we really are and our activities in that place that is natural for us. And that connection is through divine love. The Sanskrit term is prema bhakti. Bhakti, that's using your senses in the service of the master of the senses, that's bhakti. And prema bhakti is when that activity becomes matured, like a little seed that grows and grows and grows and grows and blossoms into flowers and more fruits. And that mature stage of the fruit of bhakti comes, that's prema bhakti, or divine love. And once you're in that position, you're beyond liberation, beyond the worldly conception of liberation, beyond the cessation of material existence. There's no attraction for it. And not only there's no attraction for it, it's not just repulsion, it's a happiness that is boundless and unlimited. And one never departs from that position, having attained it. Divine love liberates. In the beginning stages of practice of bhakti, that's long before the prema bhakti stage comes, is the sadhana bhakti stage, the practice stage. Then there's some recommendations, some do's and do nots. I would guess that most of the persons here have been vegetarian for some years. So supposing somebody offers you, I won't mention names of non-vegetarian food, but supposing somebody offered you, there's not like yet there's a pause and you have to think about it. Well, I think not. There's no question. Not a contemplation in the mind, nor the tongue, or any one of the senses. It's just not. That's a value, what to speak of if one is at the stage of prema. If one is at the stage of prema, it's way beyond, rules and regulations. And in the prema stage, this divine love stage, even there's obstacles, those are ecstasies. There's this common language for people, motivational people, say when you see an obstacle, try to make it into an opportunity. Something bad, and make it to an opportunity to go to a higher level of consciousness and something or other. Change difficulties into opportunities. But in the prema bhakti stage, it's ecstasy. It's ecstasy. It's not within our experience that, let's say, when you stub your toe, it's ecstasy. Or you see your father being swallowed by a serpent, and it's ecstasy. But that happened in Vrindavan. Nanda Maharaj was being swallowed by a giant serpent in the middle of the night. And he called out, "Krishna!" It's a nice story. I'll just tell the story. The residents of Vrindavan follow Vedic culture. So there was a festival day, and they went some distance. The whole elders and and their boys went to some temple, some distant place, and there was a 3-day festival on the occasion of that event. And because they were out, they didn't go back because it was a long distance. They just slept on the ground right where they were. And Nanda Maharaj was a little distant because he was the king. And the adults were in another place, and the boys were over there because they don't want to disturb the elders. They want the elders to disturb them, so they were in another place. But there were a lot of people. It wasn't just Brijbasis. It's a big festival, 3-day festival. So along comes this giant serpent, and he approaches Nanda Maharaj from the feet and started to swallow him. Now it's said that that serpent previously was a being in the celestial realm, but he had made fun, he had made an offense to sadhus, to elderly men that, because of their austerities, they didn't look so good, they weren't dressed so nicely, and he was a nicely dressed, very handsome young man, and he mocked them, and he insulted them. So they cursed him that he would take birth on earth, become a serpent, because you're envious. So he became a serpent. And he approached the lotus feet of Nanda, not necessarily thinking, I want to touch the feet of this celebrated spiritual personality, but he did. So he became benefited at once. But he kept swallowing Nanda Maharaj. So Nanda Maharaj felt the serpent swallowing him, and he called out for his son, Krishna. And at that time, Krishna was just a boy, and Nanda Maharaj is the king. So he's calling for his son. And the reason he's calling for his son, this is like in divine love, Liberates. He called his son because there was a ceremony at the time he was born. There's a ceremony for giving the name. An astrologer is called, looks at the chart, and then give names based upon the chart. So the astrologer, super astrologer, said, this son of yours, he will have powers like Narayan, personality of Godhead. He didn't say he was Narayan. He didn't say he wasn't Narayan. He just said he'll have powers like Narayan. And with those powers, he will protect you. So take good care of him. Little boy, little baby. So he's remembering, here he is in danger, being swallowed by a serpent, so he called for Krishna. Come protect me, little boy, and his father. Father saying, please protect me, because he has powers that the astrologer said he'll protect the residents of your community here in Vrindavan. So Krishna woke up when he heard his name called. Meanwhile, the elders, they were closer, they had sticks, and some of them from the fire were still burning, and they're hitting him with burning sticks, and whack, whack. He kept swallowing Nanda. Krishna came. With his left foot, he just touched the body of the serpent with his left foot, and this celestial being emerged from the serpent. And with folded palms, he offered prayers to Krishna, little boy, in front of all this death-threatening situation, where their king, who they loved dearly, not a ruler that was a tyrant, just a very lovable, like a father. So they heard this celestial being offering prayers to Nanda, to Krishna. So he just showed his divinity by his touching with his foot, and the whole thing stopped. They heard this very elaborately decorated celestial being offering prayers to Krishna, and then he departed. So there was danger, but the danger was in ecstasy. And the solution to the danger was divinity, but they didn't get overwhelmed by the divinity part. They just, celebrated Krishna's powers. They didn't see him as God. They just say, what a wonderful boy. Let's go back and tell all the people in Vrindavan what Krishna did this time. Because of the intensity of their love. Divine love liberates. Even danger becomes an ecstasy. Now, it doesn't mean we take unnecessary risks, or such persons who are very celebrated in their spiritual attainment take unnecessary risks. But when some danger does come, it's an ecstasy. When difficulty comes, we usually, something else happens besides ecstasy, put it that way. We get all consumed in dealing with the difficulty and the negative emotion that's created by the difficulty. That's what happens in illusion. But when you're not in illusion, when you're liberated by divine love, the object of love is never lost. It's a nice lesson. We're not there yet, but that's what's natural. That's the healthy state of the living being, if that's where we're headed, healthy state, where that relationship is always with you, whether it's good times or bad times, whether it's good fortune, ill fortune, whether it's hot or cold, whether you're in Seattle or Chicago, or Lithuania, or wherever you are. When you're in the liberated state of divine love, that's everything. And you adjust according to wherever you are, in the circumstances and what's going on. You live your life in practical ways. You're not oblivious. But there is only one thing. This is in the divine love stage. So the bhakti process is meant to take us there, and by Srimad Bhagavatam we get an answer to the question I asked when I was a little boy and never got an answer. There is such a place. There is a reality that's beyond our present reality, and it's not just heaven, where there's celestial enjoyments, and then after some time you die and you come back again. That's far beyond that is the destination that bhakti takes one to, the place of divine love. And divine love liberates. It more than liberates. We'll say just one more thing and see if there's some discussion. There's maybe you've heard this Sanskrit phrase, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Some of you have heard. Religiosity in the world, religiosity is often seen, predominantly seen, as a means to gain piety. And the purpose of gaining piety for most people is to prosper. Dharma is meant to have prosperity, is meant to enjoy. Say it again. Krishna says it in Bhagavad Gita in chapter 2. Most people think that the purpose of Dharma is to go to the heavenly realm. In this life, if you're pious, in this life, you can enjoy facilities. In this life, you get the fruits of piety in terms of wealth and other nice things. Good education, beauty, so forth. We have another guest coming. Huh. Okay. Religiosity to gain piety. Piety so you can prosper in this life and go to a better place in your next life. Go to heaven. And Krishna says in chapter 2 Bhagavad Gita, most people think there's nothing more than this. The purpose of scripture, that's it. Or the purpose of good life, that's it. But Bhagavad Gita right away says that's not it. That's something that's temporary, and liberation is beyond that. Liberation is attaining the position where there's your permanent situation, where the soul is connected to your eternal spiritual activities in the spiritual realm. That's what's natural. So, got a little distracted with this gentleman coming here on his bicycle. Forget how I was going to conclude. Huh?
It's my father.
That's your father? Oh,
He's 76.
76, riding a bicycle.
Like he can drive like about 20 miles a day.
10 miles?
20.
20. Every day he rides a bicycle.
Like almost, yeah. And he can do like how many pulls up.
That's where your son gets his energy, from your father.
But he wouldn't come and sit and listen, my father. But like he's amazing, but he would not come to.
Okay,
Sorry,
that's okay.
he wasn't planning to come.
He didn't know what was going on.
I can tell you, but he was not. Shah was supposed to come by himself, so like it was like unexpected.
Okay. Okay, well, I completely forget the train of thought. So let's see if there's some discussion here. Divine love liberates. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, thank you, Maharaj. That divine love or liberation, can we achieve that by our efforts? Or it comes like, I don't know, like an accident or as a mercy, I don't know. I mean, you can try the hard but still don't have it. And I've read in the scriptures that some people or they don't try and get it. You know what I mean? Like even those demons in the scriptures, they just get it, but they haven't done any service or devotional thing. And you can try like for 20 years and follow the instructions of a spiritual master and still don't get it.
Well, the general rule, there's exception to the rule, but the general rule is, if you want to get a college degree, you have to enroll, you have to apply, get accepted, go to the classes, take the exams, and then you get your diploma for having completed your studies. That's the general procedure. Now, it's possible a university can award somebody an honorary degree. That's possible. Not to be counted on, but it's doable. So if Krishna wants, he can just bestow anything on anybody. But the general rule is, we have to make some effort and we require mercy. These two things. Effort and mercy. Two things. Not just effort. Effort without mercy isn't going to do it. Effort and mercy. That's the general rule. Now, Krishna is he's unlimitedly powerful, and if he wants, he can do whatever he wants. A nice example is Putana. You're familiar with Putana? the witch that came to try to poison Krishna when he was just a little baby. Remember that one? Okay, so when she was killed, Krishna gave her a destination of being in the spiritual world as an assistant to Mother Yasoda, in relationship of mother. But she did a little service. And the little service that she did was, she dressed like a mother, a Vaishnava, a worshipper of Krishna. And she offered her breast milk, as a mother might do, or a nurse might do, for a child. That little, Krishna gave her. So there was the intention was terrible, but there was something good, and Krishna accepted the something good. Now it's not like that for everybody, but Krishna chose to do that for her. So for you and me, we don't wait to get an honorary degree. Just live our life out and don't, we take up the bhakti process, as you described it. Hear the recommendations of the spiritual master, try to carefully follow them. Not just, the do, but it's the submission. The essence is the submission unto Krishna, for the pleasure of Krishna. That's the essence. And we're not there yet, but that's the beginning stage. So, and then we make some effort, to become purified, to become free from the material contact and its contamination. We make some effort. Does that answer your question?
How much effort? How long?
Enough to show Krishna that you really want him, that much. Because when Krishna shows, he reciprocates with the desire of every living entity, you and me and everybody. He reciprocates with everyone's desire. Now, because supposing I desire to be a millionaire, doesn't mean I'm going to become a millionaire. There has to be qualification, so I have to. So Krishna will see your desire, and corresponding to your desire, there'll be some effort. And then Krishna will see your desire and your effort, and you reciprocate. Proportionate. So how much do you want? That's how much. According to Rupa Goswami, one of the first principles of bhakti is enthusiasm. So how much enthusiasm? Enough to get you there. When Krishna sees that you really mean it, you're enthusiastic to be with him, he'll pick you up. That's the mercy part. And if it's so, okay, so. He'll reciprocate. So it's really in your hand, not, the bell has to ring. It's, you reach, and you reach, and you reach, and you demonstrate that what's in the heart is, I really want to connect with reality. And not just I want, this illusion is, very unattractive. But, the reality is something I really want to connect with. That much. Anybody else would like to share something?
I had a question. Sometimes, somebody comes to spiritual life after, and he had experience.
Could you turn the speaker this way? I'm sorry, because. Go ahead, keep going.
So sometimes you see that a person comes to spiritual life after, the life of, filled with many, many desires.
Yeah.
And when he comes, you can see that his also, attraction to God was also, many lives, he practiced it before, because, enthusiasm and inspiration is there. But also like material desires are still strong. So like it means that Krishna keeps our spiritual desires and also our material desires.
Your question is just a continuation of his question, in one sense. I mean, supposing I have two pockets, spiritual desire pocket and material desire pocket. And I'm standing before Krishna. I don't have to show him what's in my pockets, he knows. So if we're coming to him with material and spiritual desire, that's the reciprocation we're going to get. And Krishna may be very kind and reach in the material desire pocket and start to tug. And then we go, ouch. I like those material desires. I want to maintain them. So it's a relationship. And so a lot depends on what we really want and Krishna's kindness. And it can work differently it does work differently with different people. The rate of purification is varies. It's variable from person to person, even in one person from one time to another time. And it's not like, okay, I want to hurry up and get purified, and then Krishna's got to jump. It's not. It's a relationship. And so we're to be in a relationship, just like relationship of father to son, or husband and wife, or friend and friend, or any relationship. There's an exchange, and it's sometimes and sometimes. In a relationship with Krishna, it's fully in his terms. He's the deciding person in the relationship. He's looking to see what our desires are, what our sincere, deep desires are, and he'll help us. But how the flow goes is he's in charge. And that's the way it is. So if we show Krishna we want purification. And just at the end, like your example said, there's a starting point for everybody. And it's not just one lifetime. Who knows how many lifetimes we've been at this? Probably more than one. Probably a bunch. And here we are. And we got our two pockets. And we want to consolidate everything, spiritualize the material ones and bring them to the wholesome condition. So that some effort is required and some submission unto Krishna and depending on Krishna. So it's a relationship. And divine love is the mature stage of that relationship. And then that's back to the theme, that's liberation. Okay. Anybody else? Do we have some online questions?
This question is from Sashimukhi Mataji from Houston. The question is, why are people attracted to one particular guru? Is there any past life connection?
I've never heard that discussed by any of our acharyas. The first part is the attraction has to do with a lot depends upon one's personality and even being in a certain stage of spiritual life, being proximate to a particular spiritual master. That is to say, supposing you're born and you grow up in West Bengal, and you go to Mayapur, and there's Jayapataka Swami and all of his followers. So it would be a natural thing for someone to be attracted to Jayapataka Swami if you're from Bengal and you go to Mayapur, and there's a whole thing going on in Mayapur, and that's where he that's where he is now, in Mayapur. So it has many disciples. So some of the reasons have to do with just social or geographic considerations. Anyway, what are the factors that go into why one is attracted? It's not necessarily a past life connection or something like that. It's you're at a certain stage, you have a growing desire for permanent shelter, and arrangements by Krishna are there for you to have opportunity to hear from and become inspired by particular spiritual masters, and you feel affinity for one, and you take shelter there. But I don't know anything about a past life connection. And that's the factor, or a primary factor in just determining who one takes shelter of. Haribol. Yes?
This question is from Sanchari from Houston. It's so easy to take Srila Prabhupada's impact for granted because we don't have his personal association. How do we transfer the deep feelings of love, appreciation, and gratitude that is there towards the devotees we have the association of to Srila Prabhupada?
By hearing and by getting a sense of the qualities of those disciples, and that, in other words, if there's some good quality or good character in someone who's had Prabhupada's association, you can get a sense of the mercy of Prabhupada upon this individual. You make that connection with them. You get with Prabhupada through them. That's not saying. I'm sitting here looking out a window on the other side of the room. There's some nice big windows. And if it was a wall, I couldn't see what's on the other side of the wall, but there's a window, so I can see what's on the other side of the window. So, like the window, I can see what's on the other side. Through those who have taken deep shelter of Prabhupada, you can get something more of a sense of Prabhupada through them. To the degree that they are transparent, you can get some, modest picture of the greatness of our founder Acharya. Of course, you can read about him, but when you read about him, it's through the eyes of those who have had his association. And each person has a particular relationship. They have a little picture through their window. So the full blast is you read his books and hear his classes and hear his recorded speaking. I was just listening to, this afternoon, listening to a lecture of Prabhupada speaking in, what's this, the city that's just north of Puri? Bhubaneswar. So Bhubaneswar is north of Jagannath Puri, and the temple had recently been formed in Bhubaneswar, and you could hear in the background there were people coming to be present where Prabhupada was, and they're Orient people. They don't speak English, and he was speaking in English. So some of the educated people in the audience can speak English. He continued to speak in English, and he said it 3 times, have them sit, even if they don't understand, they'll benefit. just by hearing. And it worked the other way. So, the ladies and their kids and chattering, and he just tolerated it. He wanted them to become purified by hearing, even they didn't understand the English language. There's another situation where Tamal Krishna Maharaj shared this. It was in India, and it was an outdoor Pandal program on a stage. And there was the kirtan, everyone was there for the kirtan. And because of the audience, Prabhupada began speaking in Hindi. So the sannyasis looked at each other and decided silently they're going to, stand up and walk off the stage because they don't speak Hindi. And Prabhupada stopped the lecture, said, "Where are you going?" And they said, "Prabhupada, we don't understand Hindi." He said, "Sit down. Even you don't understand, just hearing, you'll become purified." So for whenever it was he spoke in Hindi, they stayed on the stage without understanding what he was saying, but knowing with faith they were becoming purified. So here, even if you don't fully understand Prabhupada's writings, read them anyways. And when he speaks, you may not understand the dialect or the way that his accent. Listen anyways, and the more you continue to listen, you'll understand eventually, and it's purifying even in between. So that's the best, is for connecting with Prabhupada, is hear, read, and there are certain outstanding biographies of his life. You can read the Lamrita, for example, and you get a picture of Prabhupada's life in a very, a really big picture window. And then through those who are attached to him, you can see that quality in them, how they're attached to him, and transparently representing or displaying some of his nice character through their personality, if I've understood the question correctly. So, more online? Or is there anyone in the room? One more. Okay. Go ahead.
This is from Uttama Bhakta Prabhu. Is desire for ease and comfort natural to human beings? What is the difference between discoveries and innovation that took place since the time of Manu versus last 250 years? Is it greed and lust?
Yes. I mean, as the further one goes from transcendence or Vedic culture, which is transcendence manifested in practical life, the further one goes away from that, it's greed and lust. And so there's discoveries of things, but it's a product of passion. It's not that it doesn't lead one to goodness and transcendence, those discoveries and progresses and so forth. Okay? Anyone else in the room would like to share something?
Maharaj, lately I'm thinking a lot about how really we can desire, this divine love. It's beyond our understanding, beyond our feeling. So if we want to go forward, we have to be motivated. And
yeah, that's right.
But motivation, it's meaning we should understand at least somehow.
Yes.
But divine love, it's beyond our really human perception.
It's beyond our experience.
So it's so kind of contradictory.
No. How do you understand about the soul? There's the notion But how do you understand who you are? And so the same method is how you understand what divine love is, so that you become attracted to it. It's through sound. And it's sound from the proper source. Because just like, did you see the Hare Krishna movie? Yadabar and Vishaka and that, Hare Krishna? Okay, you saw. I watched it 6 or 7 times. It's really good. Very distilled down. So one of the outstanding segments is a reporter asking Prabhupada something like, Swamiji, what's your message for the Western world? Why have you come to this country? What's the teaching you want to give? Something like that. Prabhupada's answer was, to know yourself. And it was such a short answer. The man then said, know yourself. And Prabhupada paused and said, yes, know yourself. That's to know yourself is something big. You unpack it and it's really, it's a whole package. But the way that you can know yourself is through sound. Sound from the right source, and then you get through the layers of what you aren't to get to who you are. But then that's just like, know that you're a spirit soul, but that's not it either. You're connected to something much bigger. And that's part of what's knowing yourself. But how does all of that happen? Because we're under this thick cloud of illusion. So what to speak of divine love? You just even know who you are. But to make that connection, that's just at the other end of the spectrum, is to know yourself and then divine love. It's through sound. Let's say the same thing a different way, but saying the same thing. By regular hearing of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, something happens. The heart changes. The world around you is still the same world around you, but you experience it differently because there's change of heart. And as that change of heart continues and continues by the same method, then the cloud cover diminishes, and then you can see things that you couldn't see when that cloud cover was covering. The English, an English phrase is enlightenment. And when there's enlightenment, you can see the source of light. And then comes, please remove your dazzling effulgence so I can see your form of bliss. And it just keeps going. So how to get there is through sound. Just a little sharing on that. I said several times already, just this evening, I really love Srimad Bhagavatam. And what we've been doing morning and evening for the past 2.5 months is going through chapters of 10th canto. And just sharing with you the appreciation for the love that exists in Vrindavan. It's becoming clearer and clearer, and the attraction and the appreciation is growing and growing just from hearing. Now, I do something in addition. I'm preparing and researching and immersing and thising and thating. So I'm getting like a double dose. But that's the practical effect, is getting a sense of what love, what Vraja Prem is, what divine love is, just through sound. From Prabhupada, from our acharyas, and their commentaries, and taking the topic and churning the topic in different ways. Like, if you want to learn how to cook, then associate with somebody that's a really good cook, and just be by their side and watch them and help them and be the apprentice of the good cook, and you'll learn about good cooking. Just be in the kitchen with somebody that's a good cook, and you'll become accomplished at cooking. especially if you want to. And they're a good teacher. They don't just do and. So when you have a good teacher and good teachings about what divine love is, it awakens, because that's our natural consciousness. The disease condition subsides and the natural consciousness awakens through sound. It works. And then the eagerness to achieve it, exactly as you said, it grows because now I have more of a picture of what it is. I can share with you from doing this, the focus of my japa every morning has gone up a number of times, because that's the means to get to that. That's the best means. There isn't a better means to get to that divine love position. But it's what helped. One of the things that has helped is this immersion in hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. It's powerful. That's how. And then there's qualitative, not just quantitative. That's another thing. But so some part of your day, every day, immersion, and then with qualitative and quantitative on your radar screen. You're part of your game plan for the day to day. And there's always something that comes up unexpected, but you just stay fixed. And some appreciation, so that then you can start to know yourself. You've come to America with some message. Swamiji, could you share what that message is? To know yourself. Or to develop an attraction for divine love. You could say that too. The method is hearing, sound vibration. And then you practically apply it as much as you can. Okay? Something further you want to add? I can see it coming.
Yes, Maharaj. For me, it's really lately started more interesting how we can change our heart, because by information or jnana information that we put into our brain and pushing ourselves to do something.
It's a beginning. But it's not sufficient.
Yes.
So how do you get to the heart from the head? That's your question. Well, same answer. It's same answer in a different way. Sadhu Sangha. Because what's the benefit of Sadhu Sangha? It's hearing. It's the quality, the personality, the energy of that individual, the power, and all that. But it's the sound vibration. That's the main thing. The sound vibration.
I read from one book, Napoleon Hill. He mentions that between man and woman could be naturally be a condition of attraction and excitement, and condition of not on level, even body level, but even on a more higher level of psychological, emotional level of attraction and kind of.
Keep going.
I need this word.
You looking for an English word?
Increasing vibration, excitement, kind of. So Yes, it's when two people have natural attraction and open heart, so excitement of be together,
Okay.
man and woman, or
Okay.
friends, or disciple and teacher. So I mean, excitement, I believe, should somehow increase or motivate to change heart, not only brain. And just listening lectures, it's very nice, I believe. But maybe it's not enough to burn, to light this excitement, heart desire.
Okay. Well, a few things. In the course of what we have been discussing in our morning evening classes, there's a science of rasa, and there's the material application, and there's a spiritual application of rasa. And the excitement can be material or spiritual, but the terminology and the principles are quite similar according to our acharyas. The real distinction is, what's the object? Krishna. If it's not Krishna, then it can be some other excitement. But if it's Krishna, then it moves into the spiritual dimension. So now back to this other, Prabhupada left this world in 1977, and this is 2020. So that's like 43 years. And I haven't had his physical association. And I'm not unenthusiastic. The ember has not become cold. And like just a piece of charcoal that used to be on fire. It's not by physical presence. That's not, when that opportunity is there, take advantage. And when it's not there, it's sufficient just through sound. Because you're associating with the person through sound. That's our teaching. Not only I'm associating with Prabhupada or Sadhu, you're associating with Krishna through sound. Now, supposing you have physical association, if I don't have that vibrational sense, it's going to stay on the physical platform, at least to some degree. There are a number of disciples of Prabhupada that after Prabhupada's departure, they couldn't continue because they were depending upon the physical. And without the physical, they were lost. You follow? So it's not to say, being with somebody is unimportant. That's not the message. But this is a morning walk. They've heard this several times. This in Vrindavan, you've been to Vrindavan. You go out the front gate and make a right, and that's, now it's crazy across the street, but then it was like just agricultural fields. So we were coming back one morning, and we could hear the kirtan. The devotees knew Prabhupada was due to come back. Kirtan, kirtan, you could hear it. It was getting closer. Then Prabhupada looked around. There were very few people on the morning walk. And he said, where are all the devotees? And somebody said, they're at the gate, Prabhupada, waiting for you to come back. And what he meant was, how come there's not more devotees on the morning walk? And then he put his cane down on the pavement and said, when there's opportunity for the association of the spiritual master, one should seek it. He said that is vapu. And even when there's vapu, there's also vani, and more important than vapu is vani. And when there isn't vapu, then it's vani. And he looked around, and then he went on to the gate. So the point is, when the opportunity is there, definitely go for it. And when the opportunity isn't there, vani. And even when there's vapu, the most important is vani. That's the most important. Now, having the opportunity to do some personal service, fantastic. And as you using this reference that you just gave, it gives some inspiration, excitement, inspiration. utsaha, enthusiasm. But this enthusiasm really should connect on the spiritual plane, and when there's sound vibration, the person is there in the sound. That's the spiritual reality. I heard several times Prabhupada say, some people say, and then he would defeat it. Some people say, oh, I'll never be able to get what Arjuna attained because Arjuna heard directly from Krishna. I'll never heard directly from Krishna. So I can't achieve what Arjuna achieved. And Prabhupada said that's wrong. I mean, he said it stronger. When you speak, when the spiritual master speaks, this is what Krishna said. It's Krishna speaking. And he said it 3 times, and he went into ecstasy. He went into a trance right on the Vyasasan in Mayapur, saying, when the spiritual master is speaking, surrender to Krishna. It's Krishna speaking. He didn't explain, I took it that as he was saying that, his realization was Krishna was speaking. He said it 3 times, and then he went into a trance, and class was over. Krishna is speaking. When the spiritual master is speaking Krishna's words, you don't get Krishna's association as Arjuna did, but you get Krishna's association through the spiritual master Krishna speaking. You get the personal association. That's what absolute platform means. There's no difference between the person and the sound.
So, secret of understanding the sacred knowledge is mean tune up our internal perception, how we see.
If it's acting,
words.
it's the analysis doesn't work for me because it's from the heart. Doesn't matter on, making adjustments in your apparatus, your perceiving apparatus and your thought apparatus. It goes directly to the heart. It goes directly to the soul. Yeah, I feel a little animated about this topic because it comes up a lot. How to go from the head to the heart. So I've given many seminars on that topic. You can send you the link. You can listen to them. But it's the orientation of the soul to please Krishna. That's from the heart. It's not information in the head. It's not how you're wired and how you perceive and all that stuff. It goes directly to, and then everything aligns behind that one. The awakening of the desire to be pleasing to Krishna. That's who we are. That's know yourself.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you so much.
Okay. Are we finished? I think we're finished. You have something? One question online.
This is from Amara Mataji. If a devotee yet not matured in sadhana and leaves the body, or his spiritual master leaves, then will the disciple ever get Vapu association again, since the disciple is eternally connected through Diksha?
Well, not necessarily Vapu, but Vani. And how it works after, we all leave our bodies, whoever goes first and then second and then third. When we leave our bodies, the relationship is spiritual, and how it's going to look like, that's up to Krishna. But spiritual relationships aren't dependent upon bodies. Spiritual relationships are spiritual. And how Krishna wants it to look like, that's up to Krishna. That's my take on the answer to her question. Like I'm initiated by Srila Prabhupada, and he's departed some 43 years ago. Now what? I'm attached to Prabhupada, and by Krishna's arrangement, may I be again in his association somewhere. It's not necessarily going to be in ISKCON in the spiritual world or something. It's going to be whatever it is. And similarly for anybody else. By what we're attached to is where we go. And what it's going to look like that's up to Krishna. Like, when we walk out the door, what's it going to look like? Well, we have our routine, we have some idea. It might look very different today, and then what to speak of 10 years from now, and so forth. But we're in Krishna. The main point is we're in a relationship with Krishna and his dear representatives, and that's spiritual. That's something that doesn't change. And well, everything else is changing around us. And that's from the heart message. And so we want to connect that way. I hope it's okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.